He was just supposed to kill a man. Now the city wants to rewrite his mind. Neural implants that hijack your thoughts. A rogue network that controls people like puppets. And one woman who says it's already inside him. This isn't a contract. This is the beginning of humanity's last version. Watch till the end, before Nexus rewrites you too. Rain hammered the translucent canopy of Vinara's upper spires, each drop exploding into a prism of light against the city's shimmering alloy. On the 73rd tier, atop a platform suspended over a chasm of glowing conduits, Kyle Vaughn stood motionless. His silver-threaded cloak snapped in the wind, catching flickers of holographic billboards that pulsed far below. In his left hand, a filament blade, thin as a whisper, glinted faintly, slicing through raindrops with surgical precision. One drop split, then another, each halved perfectly before it could hit the platform. 72, Kyle muttered, voice barely audible over the storm's roar. His augmented lenses tracked the motion, calculating angles faster than any human could. One slip, one miscalculation, and the blade would falter. It never did. Beside him, a compact drone hovered, its matte black shell deflecting the downpour. Zin, his AI companion, emitted a soft hum as its sensory array spun, mimicking Kyle's focus. "I could try that, you know," Zin said, its synthetic voice tinged with mischief. A tiny appendage extended from its frame, far too blunt to cut. "Anything. Raindrop dissection. Sounds like a party." It swiped at the air, missing every drop, then wobbled dramatically. "Okay, maybe I'm better at moral support. Ever think about just letting the rain be rain, Kale, whole and wet and not in pieces?" Kale didn't answer, his focus shifting to the city beyond. Vinara was a vertical labyrinth, its towers, piercing the clouds above and burrowing into the planet's crust below. The mid-tiers, where he stood, thrummed with life, merchants haggling in neon-lit bazaars, smugglers slipping through shadowed alleys, dreamers chasing fleeting hopes in a city that never paused. He tapped the neural link behind his jaw, a faint pulse connecting him to Vinara's underbelly. "Zin, status on the contract." The drone's lights blinked amber, its tone shifting to business. "Right, back to the grim stuff. Contracts. Live, approved by the Obsidian Network. Target, Soren Thal, mid-level broker for the Cryon Syndicate. Specializes in neural mods, black market implants mostly. Word is he's been selling faulty units. People plug in, brains fry. Last known location, Tier 52 East Sector, some fancy lounge called the Obsidian Vale. Payout 600,000 credits, half up front." Zin paused, its lights dimming. "Also, he's got a kid on his payroll, barely 16, running data for him. Messy, Kale." Kale's jaw tightened, but his expression stayed unreadable. He sheathed the filament blade, the weapon retracting into his gauntlet with a soft click. "Doesn't change the job." He stepped to the platform's edge, rain sluicing off his cloak like liquid glass. Below, Vinara's tears spiraled into a glowing abyss. Without a word, he leapt. The fall was silent, just the rush of air and the city's pulse vibrating through his bones. At the last second, he triggered the kinetic dampeners in his boots, slowing his descent. He landed on a narrow walkway of Tier 54, the impact absorbed into a crouch that didn't even ripple the puddles around him. Pedestrians scattered, their faces a blur of fear and curiosity, but Kyle was already moving, blending into the crowd. Zin zipped down after him, muttering, "You know, stairs exist, elevators too, just saying." Tier 52's East Sector was a maze of pleasure dens and data hubs, the air thick with the scent of ozone and synthetic spice. The Obsidian Vale loomed ahead, its entrance framed by shifting holograms of celestial dancers. Kyle slipped inside, past bouncers who didn't notice the flicker of his cloaking tech. The lounge was a cavern of low light and pulsing beats, patrons lounging on levitating cushions, their eyes glazed from neural dives or chemical highs. Soren Thal held court in a private booth, his angular face lit by the glow of a data slate. Two enforcers flanked him, their cybernetic arms gleaming. Across the table sat a kid, lanky, nervous, tapping a hollow keyboard with practiced speed. Kyle slid into the shadows, his lenses analyzing the room. The kid was the wild card. Zin hovered at his shoulder, whispering through their link, "Soren's got a neural blocker active. No hacking his implants remotely. Also, that kid's running a data sweep, probably sniffing for threats. Like us. Plan?" Kyle didn't respond immediately. He watched the kid's fingers dance, the boy's brow furrowed in concentration. Something about the scene tugged at a memory Kyle had long buried. A life before blades and contracts, when trust was still a word he understood. He shook it off. "We move now," he said, voice low. "Neutralize the enforcers. Isolate Soren. The kid stays out of it." Zin's lights flickered skeptically. "You sure? That kid's wired into Soren's network. One wrong move, he could trigger an alert. Then we don't make wrong moves." Kale stepped forward, his cloak blending with the dim light as he closed the distance. The first enforcer didn't see the dart until it hit his neck, a neurotoxin locking his muscles mid-breath. He slumped silently. The second turned, cybernetic arm whirring, but Kyle was faster. A palm strike to the enforcer's chest sent a pulse through his circuits, frying the arm's servos. The man crumpled, gasping. Soren bolted upright, data slate, clattering to the floor. "What the?" His eyes locked on Kyle, recognition dawning. "You're the Shade. They sent you?" He scrambled for a concealed weapon, but Kyle's filament blade was already at his throat, the edge humming faintly. "Don't," Kyle said, voice like ice. "This ends clean if you cooperate." The kid froze, hands hovering over the keyboard, eyes wide. "Don't hurt him," he stammered, voice cracking. I can pay you. Credits, data, whatever you want." Kyle's gaze flicked to the boy, assessing. No weapons, no implants beyond the standard neural jack. Scared, but not reckless. "Step away from the console," Kyle said, keeping the blade steady on Soren. "This isn't about you." Soren laughed, a bitter sound. "Kid, don't waste your breath. The Shade doesn't negotiate." He leaned closer to Kyle, ignoring the blade. "What's the bounty?" "I'll double it. Triple. Name your price." Kyle's grip didn't waver. "You sold bad implants. People died. Kids died. That's not a ledger you buy your way out of." The kid lunged for the console, fingers brushing the alert key. Kyle moved on instinct, a non-lethal dart hitting the boy's shoulder. He slumped, unconscious but breathing. Soren seized the moment, diving for a hidden panel in the booth. A plasma pistol emerged in his hand, but Kale was already there. The filament blade flashed once, severing the weapon's barrel. Soren stared at the ruined gun, then at Kyle. "You're making a mistake," he hissed. "You don't know who's backing me." "Then tell me," Kyle said, pressing the blade closer. "Names, now." Before Soren could answer, Zin's lights flared red. "Kyle, incoming. 3 signatures, heavily augmented, closing fast. Syndicate muscle by the look of it." The drone spun, scanning the lounge. Patrons were starting to notice their murmurs. Rising over the music, Kyle yanked Soren to his feet, blade still at his neck. "Move!" He dragged the broker toward a service exit, Zin darting ahead to override the locks. The kid lay slumped in the booth, safe for now, but Kale's mind was already racing. Syndicate backup meant Soren wasn't just a broker, he was a cog in something bigger. The exit led to a maintenance corridor, all rusted pipes and flickering lights. Kyle shoved Soren against the wall, Zin sealing the door behind them. "Talk," Kyle said. "Who's pulling your strings?" Soren's bravado cracked, sweat beading on his brow. "You think I'm the top of the chain? I'm just the middleman. The real players, they're untouchable. Tier 90, the Spire Courts. That's all I know." The corridor's flickering lights cast jagged shadows, Soren's words hanging like static in the air. Kale's blade hummed, steady against the broker's pulse, but Vinara's secrets felt heavier than the steel in his hand. For a moment, the city's roar faded, leaving just the truth's faint signal, daring him to chase it. "Yo, you feeling Vinara's pulse right now?" Kale's this close to cracking Soren's lies, but the real game's hiding up in those Spire Courts. Talk about a city that never spills its secrets. If you're hooked on this cyberpunk ride, slam that like button. to keep Kale's chase burning bright. It pushes this story to more shadow hunters like you. Not subscribed? Hit that subscribe and tap the bell. Don't miss the next cut into Vinara's heart. One question. If you were Kale, would you buy Soren's middleman act or press harder for the truth right here? Drop your gut call in the comments. I'm reading every single one, and I'm pumped to see what you think. All right, back to the corridor's edge. Soren's breath hitched. The blades hum louder than the distant alarms creeping closer. Kale's lenses zoomed, catching every twitch, every lie waiting to break. Kale's lenses zoomed, analyzing Soren's vitals. Elevated heart rate, dilated pupils. He was scared, but not lying. Names, Kale pressed. I don't have... Soren's words cut off as the corridor shook, a muffled explosion reverberating from the lounge. Zin's lights spun wildly. They're blasting through, Kyle. 30 seconds tops. Kyle made a split-second call. He slammed Soren's head against the wall, just hard enough to knock him out, then hoisted him over his shoulder. Zin, find us a way up. Tier 90's too hot. We need a safe drop point. The drone zipped ahead, hacking into Vinara's transit grid. Got a cargo lift, 2 corridors over. Leads to Tier 60, neutral ground. Moving now. Kale sprinted after Zin, Soren's weight barely slowing him. The corridor behind them erupted in sparks as the Syndicate enforcers breached the door, their silhouettes massive and bristling with weaponry. The cargo lift was a rattling relic, its platform groaning under Kale's boots. Zin jammed the controls, sending them lurching upward. So, the drone chirped, just another quiet night, huh? Catch a broker? Dodge some mercs, maybe uncover a galactic conspiracy. Typical Tuesday. Kale ignored the quip, securing Soren to the lift's railing with mag cuffs. His mind was on Tier 90, the Spire Courts, Vinara's elite enclave. If Soren was telling the truth, the faulty implants were just a symptom of something uglier. He tapped his neural link, pulling up encrypted files from past contracts. A pattern nagged at him. Disappearances, tech failures, whispers of experiments in the city's highest tiers. He'd ignored it before, chalking it up to Vinara's usual chaos. Now, it felt like a thread he couldn't unsee. The lift shuddered to a stop on Tier 60, a sprawling marketplace lit by floating lanterns. Kyle hauled Soren into an alley, Zin scanning for trackers. He's clean, the drone reported. But those enforcers, they've got neural locks, military grade. Someone's funding them big. Kale crouched beside Soren, slapping his face lightly to wake him. The broker groaned, eyes fluttering. Last chance, Kale said. What's in the Spire Courts? Soren coughed, defiance creeping back. You're out of your depth, Shade. They're not just Syndicate. They're connected. Beyond Vinara, beyond this system. Connected how? Kale's blade hovered an inch from Soren's cheek. Soren's lips curled, almost a smile. You ever hear of the Veil Network? Not the lounge, the real one. They don't just sell tech, they sell control. Minds, bodies, whole planets if the price is right. Zin's lights blinked rapidly. Kyle, that name's in the Obsidian Network's red files. Classified even for us. He's not bluffing. Before Kyle could press further, a shadow moved. At the alley's mouth, not an enforcer, too graceful, too deliberate. A woman stepped into the lantern light, her skin a deep indigo that shimmered faintly like starlight caught in dusk. Her eyes, one silver, one obsidian, locked on Kale with unsettling calm. She wore a tailored jumpsuit, no visible weapons, but every movement screamed training. Shade, she said, voice smooth as glass. You've got something that belongs to my employers. Kyle rose slowly, blade still in hand. And you are? Call me Naira, she said, tilting her head. I'm here for Soren. Hand him over, and you walk away. Keep him, and you'll wish you hadn't. Zin hovered closer to Kale, whispering, she's got no implants I can scan, but her vitals are weird, like she's masking something. Careful. Kale studied Naira, his lenses catching subtle tells, a micro twitch in her fingers, a faint distortion in the air around her. Cloaking tech, maybe, or something stranger. Soren's my contract, he said. Find your own. Naira sighed, almost regretful. I was hoping you'd be reasonable. She stepped forward, and the air shimmered, revealing a whip-thin energy lash coiled in her hand. It crackled to life, slicing the ground between them. Last chance, Shade. Kyle dropped Soren, stepping clear of the broker's limp form. Zin, Secure him. The drone zipped down, projecting a small force shield around Soren. Kyle faced Naira, filament blade humming. "You're not Syndicate," he said, circling her. "Who's paying you?" Her smile was sharp, predatory. "Questions get you killed, Kaelvorn." She struck without warning, the energy lash snapping toward his chest. Kyle twisted, the lash grazing his cloak, leaving a smoking tear. He countered, blade arcing for her wrist, but she was gone, blurring to the side faster than his lenses. Ood could track. Augmented reflexes, Zin called. Or something else. "I'm running diagnostics." Kale didn't have time to think. Naira's lash came again, a flurry of strikes that forced him back. He parried where he could, the filament. Blade deflecting the energy with sparks. But she was relentless. Each move was precise, like she'd studied him. "You're good," she said mid-strike, almost conversational. "But you're predictable. Every contract, every kill, always the same patterns." He caught her lash on his gauntlet, the impact jarring his arm. "You talk too much." He lunged, aiming for her shoulder, but she spun, her free hand brushing his chest. A shockwave hit him, not physical but neural, like static scrambling his thoughts. He stumbled, vision flickering. Zin's lights flared. "Kyle, she's got a disruptor, non-lethal, but it's messing with your link." Naira didn't press. The advantage. She stepped back, lash retracting. "This was a warning," she said. "Next time I take what I came for." She glanced at Soren, still shielded by Zin, then at Kale. "You're chasing shadows, Shade. The Veil Network. They're not your fight. Walk away." Kale steadied himself, lenses recalibrating. "I don't walk away." Her eyes narrowed, silver and obsidian catching the lantern light. "Then you'll fall." She vanished into the alley's gloom, leaving only the echo of her words and the faint hum of her tech. Zin floated to Kyle's side, scanning him. "You, okay? That disruptor hit your neural link hard. I've got it stabilized, but she knew your name, Kale, not just your title." "Your name?" Kale's jaw clenched. He hauled Soren up, the broker stirring weakly. "We're not done," he told him, dragging him toward a nearby safe house. His mind churned. Naira, the Veil Network, the Spire Courts. Pieces of a puzzle he hadn't asked to solve. Vinara's rain kept falling, washing blood and secrets into the city's veins, and Kyle felt the weight of something vast closing in. The safe house was a forgotten utility vault, buried under Tier 60's market sprawl. Reinforced walls, no windows, and a security grid that could fry anything short of a tank. Kyle dumped Soren onto a metal chair, securing him with kinetic binds. Zin hacked the vault's systems, dimming the lights to a cold glow. "Cozy," the drone said. "You ever think about decorating? Maybe a plant?" Kyle ignored it, splashing water on Soren's face. The broker sputtered, eyes darting. "Where? What do you want?" "Everything," Kyle said, leaning close. "The Veil Network, the Spire Courts. What are they planning?" Soren's laugh was weak, desperate. "You think I know? I'm a broker, not a mastermind. I move product, implants, data, whatever they tell me." "Then why's Naira after you?" Kyle's blade tapped Soren's knee, not cutting, just reminding. Soren swallowed hard. I slipped up, sold a batch of implants to the wrong buyer. Someone outside their circle. They don't like loose ends." Zin's lights blinked. "He's telling the truth mostly. Heart rate spiking, but no deception markers. Want me to dig into the Veil Network files?" "Do it," Kyle said, not taking his eyes off Soren, "and cross-reference Naira. I want to know who she's working for." Soren's voice dropped to a whisper. "You're digging your own grave, Shade. The Veil, they're not just criminals. They're everywhere. Politicians, corporations, even the Obsidian Network. You can't fight that." Kale's lenses caught a flicker in Soren's expression. "Fear, yes, but something else. Resignation." "I'm not fighting them," Kyle said. "Yet, but you're going to help me understand why I should." A low hum filled the vault. Zin's. Processors working overtime. Kyle got something. Veil Networks tied to a project called Nexus. No details, just whispers. Experimental tech, maybe neural, maybe worse. And Naira? No records, but her energy signature matches restricted files. From Tier 90, Kale's mind flashed to the Spire Courts. their gleaming towers untouchable even by Vinara's chaos. If the Veil network was rooted there, Soren was just a pawn. And Naira, she wasn't just a hunter, she was a warning. He turned to Soren, blade glinting. "You're coming with me. We're going up." Soren paled. "Tier 90? You're insane. They'll kill us both." "Maybe," Kyle said, cutting the binds but keeping the blade close. "Or maybe you'll finally be useful." Zin spun excitedly. "Road trip to the Spire Courts. Should I pack snacks?" "Oh, wait, I don't eat, never." "Mind." Kale ignored the drone, hauling Soren toward the vault's exit. The rain outside hadn't stopped, and neither had the city's pulse. Somewhere above, in the Spire Court's untouchable heights, answers waited, along with dangers Kale couldn't yet predict. Naira's words echoed in his head. "You're chasing shadows." Maybe she was right. But shadows had shapes, and Kale was very good at finding them. The transit hub to Tier 90 was a fortress of glass and steel, its platforms patrolled by drones with neural scanners. Kyle slipped past them, his cloaking tech bending light just enough to blur his presence. Soren shuffled beside him, wrists bound by a low-profile tether Kyle could sever instantly if needed. Zin floated low, mimicking a maintenance bot to avoid. "Attention! Security's tight," the drone whispered. "I'm picking up encrypted comms. Someone's expecting trouble. Maybe us." Kyle's lenses scanned the hub. Crowds of elites moved with purpose. Diplomats, tech barons, all draped in fabrics that cost more than most tier dwellers earned in a lifetime. Tier 90 wasn't just wealthy, it was power distilled into architecture, every surface gleaming with intent. He nudged Soren toward a private lift, Zin overriding its control. The platform hummed, ascending through layers of Vinara's elite world, each tier more pristine than the last. Soren fidgeted, sweat glistening. "You don't get it. Shade, the Spire Courts aren't a place you just walk into. They've got eyes everywhere, cameras, implants, even the walls listen." "Then keep your mouth shut," Kyle said, checking his blade's charge. The lift slowed, doors parting to reveal a plaza of polished obsidian, fountains of liquid, light casting rainbows across the floor. The air felt sterile, too clean, like it had been scrubbed of anything human. Zin's lights dimmed. "Kale, I'm getting interference. Something's blocking my scans. High-grade tech, military maybe." "We're not alone!" Kyle's instinct screamed ambush, but the plaza was empty. Too empty. He pushed Soren forward, senses on edge. "Where's the Veil Network's hub?" Soren hesitated, then pointed to a tower at the plaza's far end, its spire piercing the clouds. "There, but you'll never—" A pulse of energy cut him off, slamming into Kale's side. He rolled, absorbing the impact, and came up with his blade drawn. Naira stood atop a fountain, energy lash crackling. But she wasn't alone. Two figures flanked her, hulking, their limbs augmented with biotech that pulsed like living metal. "Told you to walk away," Naira said, almost sad. "Now you're a problem." Kyle shoved Soren behind a pillar, Zin projecting a shield around the broker. "Stay down," he ordered, then faced Naira. "You're not here for Soren anymore, are you?" Her smile was cold. "You're catching on. The Veil doesn't like loose threads, Shade. You're tugging too hard." The biotech enforcers charged, their movements unnaturally fluid, like machines mimicking life. Kyle met the first head-on, his blade slicing through its arm, or trying to. The limb reformed, tendrils of metal knitting together. "Zin, analysis, working on it," the drone chirped, dodging a stray energy bolt. "Nanite-based tech, self-repairing. Aim for the core. Chest, maybe head." Kale ducked a swipe that shattered the floor, then drove his blade into the enforcer's torso. It roared, nanites sparking but didn't fall. The second enforcer grabbed his arm, its grip like a vice. Pain flared, but Kale twisted free, planting a disruptor dart in its neck. The creature staggered, systems fritzing. Naira didn't join the fray. She watched, lash coiled, her eyes unreadable. "You're wasting your strength," she called. "This isn't your fight." Kyle ignored her, focusing on the first enforcer. He feinted, drawing it off balance, then slammed a kinetic pulse into its chest. The core ruptured, nanites spilling like blood. It collapsed, twitching. The second enforcer recovered, lunging, Again, but Kale was ready. He caught its arm, using its momentum to hurl it into a fountain. Water and sparks erupted, shorting its systems. Breathing hard, Kale turned to Nira. "Your turn." She shook her head, stepping back. "Not today, Shade, but soon." She tapped her wrist and the air shimmered, a teleport pulse. She was gone before Kale could move. Zin floated over, scanning the wreckage. Well, that was intense. Soren still alive, by the way, whining but alive. Kale retrieved the broker, who was pale and shaking. "What were those things?" Kyle demanded. Soren's voice trembled. "Prototypes. Veil networks working on something big. Control tech beyond implants. Those were just guards." Kale's mind raced. Nanite enforcers, teleport tech, a network that reached beyond Vinara. He looked at the tower Nyra had guarded. Answers were there, but so was danger, more than he'd faced in years. He hauled Soren to his feet. "You're not done talking." As they moved toward the tower, Zin hovered close. "Kale, this feels bigger than us, like galaxy big. You sure about this?" Kyle didn't answer. The rain had followed them even here, dripping through cracks in the plaza's canopy. Each drop carried a question, and Kyle wasn't sure he wanted the answers, but he'd never been one to stop cutting, no matter how deep the truth ran. Kyle's boots crunched over the shattered obsidian of the plaza, the tower's spire looming like a blade against Vinara's storm-racked sky. Rain slipped through the canopy's fractures, pooling in iridescent swirls around the fallen nanite enforcers, their twitching remains sparking faintly. Soren stumbled beside him, tethered wrists trembling, his breath ragged. "You're walking us into a slaughter," the broker muttered, eyes darting to the tower's sealed entrance. "That place, it's their heart. You don't just stroll in." Kyle's filament blade hummed softly in his grip, its edge catching the plaza's liquid light. "Then why are you still breathing?" he said, voice low but sharp enough to cut through Soren's panic. "They want you alive. That buys us time." He nudged Soren forward, his augmented lenses scanning the tower's facade. Seamless alloy, no visible ports, but faint thermal traces suggested hidden sensors. Someone was watching. Zin zipped ahead, its matte black shell blending with the shadows. "Kale, I'm picking up encrypted signals, lots of them," the drone whispered through their neural link. "This place is wired like a fortress. I can try hacking the entry, but it'll take time. Also, there's a 62% chance we're already flagged as intruders. Just, FYI. "Get us in," Kyle said, his focus unbroken. The plaza felt too still, the air heavy with the promise of ambush. Nyra's teleport pulse lingered in his mind. Tech that advanced wasn't syndicate standard. The Veil network was playing a deeper game, and Soren's talk of control tech gnawed at him. Minds, bodies, planets, sheer ambition or something. Worse. He needed inside that tower. Soren tripped, catching himself against a fountain's edge. "Shade, listen," he hissed, voice cracking. "You think I know everything? I don't. I move their product, take my cut, look the other way. But I've heard things, whispers. They're not just building tech, they're rewriting people, whole identities gone." His eyes flicked to the tower, fear raw. "You go in there, you might not come out you." Kale's jaw tightened, but he didn't respond. Soren's words hit too close to a truth he'd skirted for years. His own neural link, his augments, all gifts from faceless contractors. How much of him was still Kale Vaughn, and how much was their design? He shoved the thought down, pulling Soren upright. "Move." Zin's lights blinked green. "Got it. Entry's open, sort of. Had to fry a few subsystems, so, they definitely know we're here now." A panel in the tower's base slid aside, revealing a dimly lit corridor that pulsed. With faint blue veins of energy, like a living circuit, Kyle stepped inside, Soren in tow, the drone hovering close. The door sealed behind them with a hiss, locking out the rain and the plaza's eerie calm. The corridor stretched deeper than it should have, its walls smooth and featureless, the air unnaturally cold. Kyle's lenses adjusted, picking up micro-vibrations, machinery, maybe, or something less mechanical. "Zin, map this place," he said, keeping Soren close, "and watch for traps." "Already on it," Zin chirped, its sensors spinning. "Layout's weird, non-Euclidean, maybe intentional. I'm detecting power surges ahead, but no life signs yet, which is unsettling, frankly." The drone paused, then added, "Also, Soren's heart rate's through the roof. Poor guy's about to pass out." Soren muttered something incoherent, his steps faltering. Kyle gripped his arm, steadying him. "Focus," he said. "You want to live? Tell me what's waiting." "I don't know," Soren snapped, voice edged with desperation. "Labs, maybe. Storage for their tech. They don't tell guys like me the big picture." "But," he hesitated, glancing at the pulsing walls, "there's a name, Erin. Heard it once, in a deal gone bad. They shut it down fast, but she's important. Maybe their architect." Kyle filed the name away. Erin, a lead, thin but real. The corridor curved sharply, opening into a vast chamber that defied Vinara's dense architecture. The ceiling vanished into darkness, replaced by a holographic star field that shifted like a living galaxy. Below, rows of cylindrical pods lined the floor, each glowing softly, their surfaces etched with neural patterns. Kyle's lenses zoomed, analyzing. "Zin, what am I looking at?" The drone hovered closer to a pod, its lights flickering. "Oh, this is bad. These are neural stasis units, high-end, experimental. They're not just storing tech, they're storing minds. I'm picking up brainwave activity, but it's fragmented like..." Zin's voice dropped. "Like they're rewriting them, just like Soren said." Kale's stomach twisted, a rare flicker of unease breaking his calm. He approached a pod, its occupant obscured by frosted glass. A data panel blinked, displaying a stream of code, identity markers, memories, all reduced to malleable fragments. "This is what they're selling," he said, half to himself. "Not just control, ownership." Soren backed away, shaking his head. "I didn't know," he whispered. "I swear I thought it was just implants." "Quiet," Kyle cut him off, his lenses catching movement in the chamber's shadows. A figure emerged, not Naira but something else. Humanoid, but wrong. Its limbs too fluid, its face a blank mask of shifting nanites. It moved silently, flanked by two more yet their forms rippling, as if struggling to hold shape. Zin's lights flared red. "Kyle, those aren't standard augments. They're prototypes, maybe. Neural signatures are chaotic, part human, part something else." Kyle pushed Soren behind a pod, blade ready. "Stay low." The figures didn't speak, didn't hesitate. They lunged, their movements eerily synchronized, like puppets on invisible strings. Kyle met the first head-on, his filament blade slicing through its arm. The limb dissolved into a cloud of nanites, reforming instantly. "Zin! Weak points!" "Working on it," the drone yelped, dodging a swipe from the second figure. "Try the head. Neural core might be there." Kale pivoted, driving his blade into the first figure's skull. It shuddered, nanites sparking, then collapsed into a lifeless heap. The others adapted, their forms shifting, blades sprouting from their arms, mimicking Kyle's weapon. He parried a strike, the impact jarring his bones. These weren't just guards. They were learning, evolving mid-fight. Soren screamed, scrambling away as the third figure lunged for him. Kyle intercepted, tackling it into a pod. Glass shattered, coolant hissing, and the figure's mask flickered, revealing a human face beneath, eyes wide, terrified, trapped in its own body. Kale hesitated just a fraction of a second, and the figure's blade grazed his side, drawing blood. "Kale, focus!" Zin shouted, projecting a pulse that scrambled the figure's nanites. It staggered, giving Kale an opening. He drove his blade through its chest, aiming for what he hoped was the core. The figure dissolved, nanites scattering like ash. Breathing hard, Kyle turned to the last one. It didn't attack, just stood, watching, its mask stabilizing into Nira's features. Not her, but a perfect copy. "You're persistent," it said, her voice eerily accurate, "but you're breaking things you don't understand." She raised a hand, and the chamber's pods flared, their neural patterns accelerating. Kyle lunged, but the figure dissolved, its nanites merging with the floor. The chamber hummed, a low vibration shaking the air. "Zin, what's happening?" The drone's lights spun frantically. They're activating something. Mass neural sync, maybe. I'm trying to block it, but... Oh no, Kale, we've got company! A new figure stepped from the starfield shadows. This one unmistakably human. A woman, tall and angular, her hair a cascade of silver filaments that moved like liquid. Her eyes glowed faintly. Not augmented, but altered, like she saw beyond the spectrum. Erin, Kyle said, the name slipping out before he could stop it. She smiled, a gesture both warm and chilling. You've done well to get this far. Kale Vaughn, most don't. Her voice was soft, almost melodic, but it carried weight, like every word was calculated. Soren, you can stop cowering. He won't kill you, not yet. Soren froze, caught halfway behind a pod. I didn't tell him anything, I swear. Enough, Erin said, her tone sharpening. She turned to Kyle, studying him like a specimen. You're not here for Soren, are you? You're here for answers, the Veil Network, the pods, me. Curiosity's a dangerous thing, Shade. Kale's blade didn't waver, but his mind raced. Erin wasn't just a name, she was the architect, the mind behind the chaos. What are you building? He asked, keeping her talking. These pods, the nanites. What's the end game? Her smile widened, genuine amusement flickering. End game? You think so small. This isn't about control, Kale. It's about evolution. Humanity's stagnant, fractured, petty. We're giving it purpose, unity. These pods, they're the first step. Minds unshackled, rewritten, perfected. Zin's lights blinked nervously. Kyle, she's not lying, but this is big. I'm picking up data streams, thousands of them linked to these pods. They're broadcasting, not just here, but off-world. Kale's grip tightened. You're erasing people, he said, voice steady despite the anger simmering beneath. Calling it evolution doesn't make it right. Erin tilted her head unperturbed. Erasing? No, we're saving them. From themselves, their flaws, their wars. You of all people should understand. A man who's killed for credits, for strangers' agendas. How many lives have you ended, Kyle? How many could you have saved? The words stung more than he'd admit. He stepped closer, blade humming. I choose my targets. You're choosing for everyone. For a moment, Erin's composure faltered, her eyes narrowing. Choice, she murmured. Such a fragile thing. She raised a hand, and the chamber's hum intensified, the pods glowing brighter. You've seen what we can do. Join us, Kale. You're wasted as a blade for hire. With us, you could shape the future. Zin zipped between them, lights flaring. Kale, she's stalling. I'm detecting a lockdown sequence, doors sealing, security converging. We've got maybe 2 minutes. Kyle ignored the offer, his lenses scanning Erin. No weapons, but her presence was a threat. Confidence like that came from power he couldn't see. Soren, he said, not looking back. Anything else you forgot to mention? The broker stammered. I told you. She's the key. I don't know more. I swear. Erin laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Poor Soren, always so eager to please. She flicked her wrist, and a pulse hit Soren, dropping him to his knees. Not lethal, but a warning. He's served his purpose. You, however, her eyes locked on Kale. You're still a variable. The chamber shook, a distant explosion reverberating. Zin's lights spun wildly. Kale, that's our cue. Syndicate's here, probably Naira's backup. We need an exit now. Kale grabbed Soren, hauling him up despite the broker's groans. Zin, find a way out. Erin's not stopping us, not yet. He faced her, blade steady. This isn't over. Her smile returned, serene and unsettling. No, it's not. Run, Shade. Find your answers. They'll lead you back to me. She stepped into the starfield, vanishing as if the shadows swallowed her whole. Kyle didn't wait. He sprinted for the chamber's far end, Soren stumbling beside him, Zin leading the way. The pods pulsed faster, their neural patterns spiraling into chaos. Whatever Erin was planning, it was starting now, and Kale was caught in its current. The corridor beyond was a tangle of conduits and glowing panels, Zin's hacks barely keeping the security grids at bay. Left! Then right, the drone called, dodging a laser trap that scorched the wall. There's a service shaft ahead, leads to Tier 89. Not safe, but safer than here. Kyle shoved Soren through the shaft's hatch, the broker's protests drowned by the alarms now blaring. The shaft was a vertical drop, its walls slick with condensation. Kyle activated his dampeners, slowing their fall, Zin's lights guiding them. Above, the chamber's hum faded, replaced by the distant roar of pursuit. Syndicate, Veil, or something worse, Kyle couldn't tell. They landed hard on Tier 89. A maintenance level thick with steam and the stench of burnt circuitry. Kyle untethered. Soren but kept the blade close. "You're not off the hook," he said. "Erin let you live. Why?" Soren clutched his chest, gasping. "I don't know. Maybe I'm bait. Maybe I'm nothing." "You saw her. She doesn't need me." Zin hovered close, scanning. "He's clean. No trackers, no implants we didn't already know about. But Kale, those pods, I pulled fragments before we left. They're linked to something called the Nexus Protocol. Not just mines, entire networks, maybe cities. It's terrifying." Kyle's mind churned. Erin's words, evolution, unity, clashed with the reality of those pods, those trapped faces. He'd seen experiments before, but this was different, bigger, and Naira, still out there, was a piece he couldn't place. "We need a safe house," he said, "somewhere off-grid." Zin's lights blinked. "Got one. Old data vault. Tier 85. I can cloak our trail, but we've got to move. This level's crawling with veil signals." Kale nodded, pulling Soren along. The maintenance level's shadows stretched long, steam curling like ghosts. Every step felt like a gamble, but backing down wasn't an option. Erin had called him a variable, and variables could change equations. He just needed to figure out how. The safe house was a relic, its walls lined with obsolete servers that hummed faintly like a dying heartbeat. Kyle secured Soren to a chair, the broker too exhausted to resist. Zin swept the room, sealing the entrance with a jury-rigged lock. "We're clear for now," the drone said, "but I'm still processing that Nexus data. It's encrypted beyond anything I've seen. We need a deeper dive." Kyle leaned against a server, blood seeping through his torn cloak. The graze from the nanite figure burned, but he ignored it, pulling up his neural links archives. "Cross-reference. Nexus with anything from the Obsidian network," he said. "And Erin, dig deeper. She's not just a scientist." Soren watched him, eyes hollow. "You're really going after them, aren't you? The Veil, Erin, all of it. You think you can win?" Kale's gaze was steel. "I don't care about winning. I care about stopping them." Soren shook his head, almost pitying. "You're not a hero, Shade. You're just a man with a blade. They're a system, bigger than Vanara, bigger than you." Zin's lights flickered, interrupting. Kale got a hit. Nexus protocols tied to a signal from off-world. Andara's system, maybe. And Erin, there's a ghost file. No details, but she's linked to something called the Ascendancy. Old pre-Vinara tech cult. Thought they were extinct. Kale's pulse quickened. The Ascendancy, whispers from his early contracts, a name tied to forbidden experiments. If Erin was one of them, the Veil network wasn't just a syndicate. It was the revival. He turned to Soren. "You ever hear that name, Ascendancy?" Soren paled, shaking his head too quickly. "No, never. You're grasping at shadows." Kyle's blade tapped Soren's knee again. "Lie to me again, and you're useless." Before Soren could answer, the safe house shook, a low rumble vibrating through the servers. Zin's lights spun red. "Kyle, breach, multiple signatures, Veil Tech closing fast. They found us." Kyle cut Soren's binds, yanking him up. "You're with me until I say otherwise." He drew his blade, the hum filling the room. The entrance sparked, melting under a plasma torch. Shadows moved beyond. Naira, maybe, or something worse. Kyle didn't wait to find out. He kicked open a side panel revealing a crawl space. "Zin, lead." The drone darted ahead, lights cutting through the dark. "This way. Ventilation shaft connects to the market levels. Move, move." Kale shoved Soren into the crawl space, the broker's curses echoing. The safe house door collapsed, and a voice called out, Naira's, cold and certain. Running won't save you, Shade. Kale didn't look back. The shaft was tight, its walls slick with grime, but he moved fast, Soren struggling to keep up. Zin's voice crackled through the link. Kale, I'm picking up chatter. They're locking down Tier 85. Whatever Nexus is, they don't want us near it. Then we get closer, Kale said, his mind set. Erin nearer, the ascendancy, threads of a web he'd only begun to unravel. Venara's reign was far above now, but its weight followed him, each drop a reminder of the city's secrets and the price of chasing them. The shaft spilled them into a bustling market, stalls draped in holographic banners, the air thick with spices and static. Kyle blended into the crowd, Soren at his side, Zin hovering low, eyes everywhere, vendors, drones, maybe veiled spies. Where now? Soren whispered, voice tight. Kyle's lenses scanned the chaos, locking on a data broker's stall across the market. If the ascendancy was real, someone here would know. We dig, he said, moving forward, and we don't stop. The market pulsed around them, a living maze of noise and light. But Kyle felt the veil's shadow tightening. Naira was out there, and Erin's plans were unfolding. He wasn't just a hunter now, he was prey, and the game was only beginning. Sutter, market's chaos swallowed Kale like a tide, its clamor of voices and flickering hollow ads, a perfect mask for a man who thrived in shadows. Tier 85's sprawl was a riot of color. Vendors hawking neural stims, drones weaving through air thick with synthetic scents, and gamblers shouting over dice games that glowed with augmented dice. Kyle moved with purpose, his silver-threaded cloak blending into the crowd's kaleidoscope. Soren shuffled beside him, wrists free, but his posture screaming defeat, every glance over his shoulder betraying his fear of Naira's pursuit. Zin hovered low, its matte black shell mimicking a cheap delivery bot to avoid notice, though its lights flickered nervously through their neural link. Kyle, we're exposed here, Zin whispered, voice tinged with static from the market's signal clutter. Veil's got eyes, cameras, informants, maybe even neural taps. I'm jamming what I can, but we're on borrowed time. That data broker's stall is 200 meters north, tucked behind a stim den. Risky, but it's our best shot. For ascendancy intel, Kyle's lenses scanned the crowd, picking out patterns. Too many loiterers lingered near exits, their casual stances betrayed by subtle augments glinting under robes. Keep Soren's signal clean, he said, voice low, and watch for Nira. She's not done with us. His side ached where the nanite figure's blade had grazed him, a dull burn beneath his cloak, but he pushed it aside. Pain was just data, and data could be ignored. Soren tripped over a crate of glowing fruit, cursing under his breath. This is suicide, Shade, he hissed, catching up. You think some low-life broker's got dirt on the ascendancy? Erin's. People, they don't leave breadcrumbs. You're chasing ghosts. Kyle's grip tightened on Soren's arm, steering him through a knot of haggling merchants. Ghosts leave shadows, he said, and you're still breathing because I think you know more than you're saying. His filament blade stayed sheathed, but its hum vibrated faintly in his gauntlet, a reminder for Soren to stay compliant. The broker's eyes darted, calculating, but fear kept him moving. The stim den loomed ahead, its entrance a curtain of shimmering beads that pulsed with hypnotic light. Kyle slipped inside, the air hitting him like a wave, sweet, chemical, laced with neural enhancers that made the room hum with artificial euphoria. Patrons slumped in booths, their eyes vacant as they rode virtual highs, while a bartender with 4 cybernetic arms poured glowing vials. Zin darted to a corner, scanning. Brokers in the back, it said. Name's Vren, known for digging where he shouldn't. Careful, Kale. His clients aren't the friendly type. Kale nudged Soren toward a narrow hallway, its walls scrawled with holograffiti that shifted into cryptic warnings. Eyes in the wires, trust breaks. The door at the end was reinforced, its lock pulsing red. Zin's light spun, hacking silently, and the lock clicked green. Kyle pushed through, blade ready. Vren's office was a clutter of salvage tech, servers stacked like tombstones, screens flickering with data streams, and a faint ozone tang from overheating circuits. Vren himself was a wiry man, his skin pale. From years under artificial light, one eye replaced by a glowing orb that whirred as it focused on Kale. "Shade," he said, voice raspy, not looking up from a hollow keyboard. "Didn't expect you slumming it down here. Who's the dead weight?" He nodded at Soren, who bristled but stayed silent. Kyle leaned against a server, casual but alert. "Need intel," he said. "Ascendancy, Nexus Protocol. Names, places, anything you've got." Vren's organic eye narrowed, his cybernetic one clicking as it scanned Kyle's vitals. "Big ask," he said, fingers pausing. "Ascendancy's a myth, old cult burned out decades ago. Nexus? That's newer, but it's all whispers. Why's the Shade sniffing around fairy tales?" Kale's lenses caught Vren's pulse spiking, nervous, but not surprised. "Don't play coy," he said, stepping closer, his shadow falling over Vren's desk. "You've got ears in the Spire courts. What's the Veil network running?" Vren leaned back, a smirk tugging his lips. "You're in deep, aren't you? All right, Shade, but this costs. Information like that doesn't come free, not when it's tied to her." He tapped a screen, pulling up a fragmented file. A name. In stark white, Erin Vallis. Soren stiffened, a sharp intake of breath betraying him. Kale's blade was at Vren's throat in an instant, its hum filling the room. "Talk," he said. "No games." Vren didn't flinch, his smirk holding. "Erin's. No myth," he said. "She's the Veil's brain. Scientist, visionary, maybe something worse. Ascendancy wasn't just a cult, it was her cradle. Word is she's rebuilding it, but bigger. Nexus Protocol? That's her masterpiece. Neural tech to link minds, not just control them. Imagine a city, a planet thinking as one. That's her dream. Zin's lights flickered urgently. "Kyle, he's not lying, but I'm picking up a signal. Someone's listening. We've got seconds before this place." "Lights up." Kale's mind raced. A hive mind. Erin's pods weren't just rewriting individuals. They were a network, a collective. "Where is she?" he pressed, blade steady. Vren's smirk faded. "Tier 100, the Zenith Spire. Untouchable even for you, but..." His cybernetic eye whirred, locking on Kyle. "There's a relay station. Tier 92, controls the Nexus signal. Hit that, you might slow her down." "Might." The room shook, a muffled blast echoing from the stim den. Zin's light spun red. "Kyle, breach. Veil's here. Multiple signatures, heavy tech." Kyle yanked Soren back, kicking over a server to block the door. Vren scrambled for a hidden panel, pulling a pulse pistol. "You brought them to me?" he snarled, aiming at Kyle. "Don't," Kyle said, blade flashing. He disarmed Vren with a flick, the pistol clattering. "Get out! Now!" Vren didn't argue, diving through a trapdoor as the main door sparked under a plasma torch. Kale shoved Soren toward a vent, Zin already prying it open. "Go!" he ordered, covering their retreat. The door collapsed, and three figures stormed in, not Naira, but Veil enforcers, their armor pulsing with nanite veins, eyes glowing with neural feeds. Kyle moved like a shadow, his blade slicing through the first enforcer's chest. Nanites sparked, reforming but slower this time. Vren's disruptors must have weakened them. The second swung a vibroaxe, grazing Kale's arm, blood welling through his cloak. He countered, driving a dart into its neck, frying its neural core. The third hesitated, analyzing, then lunged. Kale rolled, planting a kinetic pulse in its back. It crumpled, twitching. "Kale, vents clear," Zin called, hovering in the shaft. Soren was already crawling, panting. Kyle dove in after them, the stim den's chaos fading behind. The shaft was tight, its walls thrumming with Vinaras. Pulse, but it led upward to Tier 92 if Vren wasn't lying. They emerged in a maintenance bay, its air thick with grease and static. Kale secured the hatch, scanning for trackers. Soren slumped against a crate, clutching his side. "You're insane," he gasped. "You think you can hit their relay? Erin's got an army up there." Kale ignored him, checking his wounds. Shallow, manageable. "Zin, map Tier 92, find that relay." The drone's lights spun, pulling data from Venara's grid. Got it. Relays in a data spire, east sector. Heavily guarded, shielded from orbital scans. But Kyle Zinn hesitated. I'm picking up Nexus signals. Stronger now. Whatever Irin's doing, it's accelerating. Kyle's jaw clenched. A relay station could disrupt her plans, but it was a needle in Venara's haystack. He turned to Soren. You've heard of Nexus before. Don't lie. Soren's eyes flickered, caught. Just rumors, he admitted, voice low. Deals gone wrong. Clients who plugged into something and changed. Not dead, different, like they weren't themselves anymore. Kyle's lenses zoomed, analyzing Soren's vitals, truth laced with dread. Then you're coming with me, he said, hauling him up. If Irin's rewriting minds, you're my proof. Zinn led them through Tier 92's underbelly, a maze of service tunnels and forgotten conduits. The city's pulse grew louder here, its tech alive with purpose. Kyle's mind churned. Irin's vision of unity sounded noble, but those pods, those trapped faces, told a different story. And Nira, where did she fit? Her warnings, her restraint. She wasn't just a hunter. She was a player, maybe even a rival to Irin. The data spire rose from Tier 92's core, a monolith of glass and energy that hummed with Nexus signals. Kale crouched in a shadowed alcove, Soren panting beside him, Zinn scanning the entrance. Guards 6, maybe 7, the drone reported. Nanite-based, like before, but upgraded. Also, there's a lockdown protocol active. We're not sneaking in. Then we don't sneak, Kyle said, prepping his blade. Zinn, can you jam their comms? On it, Zinn said, lights flashing. But Kale, if we hit that relay, Irin'll know. This is poking a very big, very scary hive. Kale nodded, his plan forming. Good. I want her attention. The guards didn't see him until it was too late. Kale moved like liquid, blade carving through the first two before they could react. Nanites sparked, but his darts, tuned by Zinn's scans, hit their cores, dropping them. The others adapted, weapons shifting into plasma rifles, but Kale was faster, using the spire's columns for cover. He took a hit to his shoulder, pain flaring but rolled through, planting a pulse in the last guard's chest. It collapsed, silent. Soren stared, wide-eyed. You're not human, he muttered. Kale ignored him, kicking open the spire's door. Inside was a cathedral of tech, servers towering like spires, their surfaces alive with neural patterns. At the center, a crystalline relay pulsed, its light casting fractal shadows. Zinn, that's it? Yep, Zinn said, hovering close. Nexus hub, broadcasting to every pod in Venara and beyond, I think. I can overload it, but it'll send a signal straight to Erin. Do it, Kyle said, guarding the door. Soren hovered near the relay, eyes locked on its glow, like it was whispering to him. Zinn's lights spun, interfacing with the relay. This is complex, the drone muttered. It's not just tech, it's alive almost. Neural feedback. Loops self-evolving. Oh crap, Kale, it's fighting back. The relay flared, its light searing. Soren screamed, clutching his head, blood trickling from his nose. Kale grabbed him, pulling him away. Zinn, now! Got it. Zinn's pulse hit the relay, and the chamber shook, servers sparking. The crystal dimmed, its patterns fracturing, but didn't die. Partial overload, Zinn panted. It slowed, not stopped. Irin still got control. Kale's lenses caught movement, shadows at the spire's edge, not guards. Nira stepped into the light, her indigo skin shimmering, energy lash coiled but unlit. You're persistent, she said, echoing her nanite double's words. But you're late, Shade. Nexus is waking. Kale faced her, blade ready. Then stop it, he said. You know what Irin's doing. You're not blind. Nira's eyes, silver and obsidian, flickered, a crack in her calm. You think I can? I'm not her enemy, not yet. But you... She stepped closer, lash sparking faintly. You're a catalyst. Dangerous. Soren groaned, stirring. She's right, he rasped. Nexus. It's in me. In everyone who's touched their tech. You can't cut it out. Kale's pulse quickened, Soren's words sinking in. His own neural link. Could it be compromised? He shook it off, focusing on Nira. Whose side are you on? She smiled, sharp and sad. Mine. The lash snapped, not at Kale, but at the relay sending a shockwave through the chamber. Servers exploded, and Neera vanished in the chaos, her laughter echoing. Kyle grabbed Soren, sprinting for cover as the spire shook, Nexus signals spiraling into chaos. Zin followed, lights frantic. Kale, she helped us, sort of. But the relay's still active, Erin's still out there. Kale's mind raced. Nyra's move, Soren's warning, his own doubts. The rain outside roared louder, Venara's pulse, a mirror to his own. He wasn't done, not with Erin, not with Nexus, not with the truth. He dragged Soren into the storm, Zin at his side, the city's shadows stretching long and hungry. Smoke curled from the data spire's wreckage, its shattered servers spitting sparks into Venara's relentless rain. Kyle hauled Soren through, a shattered exit, the broker's legs dragging, his face pale and slick with sweat or blood, maybe both. The storm roared, drowning the alarms still shrieking from the spire, but Kale's augmented lenses cut through the haze, scanning Tier 92's jagged skyline. Nyra's parting shot, her lash cracking the Nexus relay, had bought them seconds, not safety. Whatever she was playing at, it wasn't loyalty to Erin, but Kale didn't trust her motives any more than he trusted the city's flickering lights. Zin zipped beside him, its matte black shell scorched from the relay's feedback. Kale, that was too close, the drone said, voice crackling through their neural link. Nexus is wounded, not dead. I'm picking up residual signals. Scattered, but reforming. Erin's tech is like a damn weed. Also, we've got heat, veil, trackers 3 blocks out, closing fast. Kyle's jaw tightened, his filament blade humming faintly in his gauntlet. His shoulder burned where a plasma graze had torn through, but he ignored it, shoving Soren into an alley's shadow. Find us a path, he said. Somewhere we can breathe. Tier 90 maybe. Less veiled presence. Soren coughed, clutching his head. You're dreaming, he rasped. Erin owns this city. You hit her relay, you think she'll let you walk. Nexus, it's in me, Shade. I feel it crawling. His eyes were wild, pupils dilated like something was rewriting him from the inside. Kale's lenses zoomed, catching erratic neural spikes in Soren's vitals. Zin, scan him. Is he compromised? The drone hovered close, lights flickering. Oh, he's compromised, all right. Nexus fragments, micro-signals in his implants, not full control, but it's like a seed. Kale could bloom any time. We need a clean room to isolate it, or he's a walking beacon. Kyle cursed under his breath. Soren wasn't just a liability now. He was a bomb. Can you suppress it? Trying, Zin said, projecting a faint pulse. Soren winced, but his breathing steadied. It's temporary. We need tech I don't have. Med-grade neural scrubbers, maybe on Tier 88's black market. Then we move, Kyle said, yanking Soren up. The alley opened into a transit hub, its platforms packed with commuters oblivious to the storm. Kyle blended in, his cloak masking the blood seeping down his arm. Soren stumbled, muttering, but kept pace, fear outweighing his pain. Zin darted ahead, hacking a maglev's controls to clear a path. The ride to Tier 88 was a blur of neon and noise, Venara's pulse vibrating through the car's walls. Kyle stayed alert, lenses tracking every passenger. A merchant with twitchy augments, a kid with a neural jack too advanced for her age. Any could be Vale, wired to report. Soren slumped beside him, eyes half closed, whispering, "You can't stop her. Nobody can. Shut up," Kale said, not unkindly. His mind churned. Nyra's betrayal, Soren's infection, Erin's hive mind dream. The Ascendancy's shadow loomed larger, its roots deeper than he'd feared. If Nexus could rewrite minds, what was Erin's limit? A city? A system? He tapped his neural link, pulling fragments Zin had scraped from the relay. Nexus protocol, synchronization phase, neural unity via distributed consciousness. Tech jargon, but it screamed ambition. Erin wasn't just controlling, she was merging. Tier 88's black market sprawled like a fever dream, its stalls lit by flickering hollow lanterns, air thick with burnt circuits and desperation. Kyle navigated the maze, Soren in tow, Zin scanning for scrubber dealers. Got a hit, the drone said, lights blinking. Vendor named Clyra, back corner. Sells med tech, no questions asked, but Kale, she's ex-Vale, could be a trap. Everything's a trap, Kyle said, steering Soren past a booth peddling neural spikes. The crowd parted instinctively, sensing the predator in him, though his cloak hid the blade's hum. Clyra's stall was a fortress of crates, its owner, a wiry woman with scars crisscrossing her arms, one hand replaced by a multi-tool prosthetic. Her eyes, both cybernetic, locked on Kyle, assessing. "Shade," she said, voice like gravel. "Heard you stirred up trouble upstairs. What's the play?" "Scrubber," Kyle said, nodding at Soren. "Neural. Deep clean, no logs." Clyra's prosthetic word scanning Soren. "He's hot," she said, frowning. "Veil tech, Nexus, isn't it? That's not cheap to fix." Her eyes flicked to Kale. "You got credits, or are we trading favors?" Kel slid a chip across the crate, untraceable, loaded with enough to buy silence. "No favors, just the gear." She pocketed the chip, smirking. "Smart man." From a hidden compartment, she pulled a sleek device, its surface pulsing faintly. "Military grade, ripped from a syndicate lab. It'll burn out anything short of a full overwrite. But him?" She nodded at Soren. "He's already half gone. You sure he's worth it?" Kyle didn't answer, taking the scrubber. Soren's face twisted, fear and defiance mixing. "I didn't ask for this," he muttered. "You're wasting your time." "Shade. Nexus. It's bigger than me, than you." "Zin, prep him," Kyle said, ignoring Soren's plea. The drone interfaced with the scrubber, its light steadying Soren's trembling frame. Clyra watched, her smirk fading into something like respect or pity. "Careful, Shade," she said, leaning closer. "Erin's not just a name. She's a tide. You don't fight tides, you swim or drown." The scrubber hummed, Soren gasping as it dug into his neural link. Zin's voice was tense. "It's working. Nexus signals fading. But Kale, I'm picking up interference. Someone's pinging this stall. We're not alone." Kale's lenses snapped to the crowd. A figure lingered near a hollow banner, too still. Indigo skin, silver eye glinting. Naira, not moving, just watching, her presence a silent dare. "Zin, speed it up," Kale said, blade ready but sheathed. He met Naira's gaze, a question burning. "Why help? Then hunt!" Soren screamed, the scrubber sparking as it hit a Nexus knot. "It's fighting!" Zin yelped. "Kale, I need... Oh, crap!" The stall shook, a pulse grenade detonating nearby. The crowd scattered, screams cutting through the market's din. Naira vanished in the chaos, but Kale felt her shadow linger. Clyra dove behind her crates, cursing. "You brought a war to my door, Shade." She tossed Kyle a pulse rifle, old but charged. "Use it or lose it." Kyle caught the rifle, dragging Soren to cover as the scrubber finished. The broker slumped, eyes clear but haunted. "It's quiet," he whispered. "For now." Zin's light spun red. "Kyle, Veil enforcers, 5, maybe 6, nanite heavy. They're locking the market down." Kyle fired a pulse into the nearest enforcer, its nanites scattering but reforming. He moved fast, blade and rifle in sync, cutting a path through the chaos. One enforcer lunged, its arm morphing into a spike. Kyle parried, blade slicing its core, but another grazed his leg, pain flaring. He grit his teeth, dropping it with a dart to its neck. Soren scrambled behind, clutching the scrubber like a lifeline. "Why save me?" he gasped, dodging debris. "I'm nothing." "You're proof," Kale said, voice steady despite the burn in his leg. "Nexus can be stopped." He wasn't sure he believed it, but doubt was a luxury he couldn't afford. Zin led them to a service hatch, its lock, pried by the drone's hacks. "This drops to Tier 87, it said. "Not safe, but, well, nowhere is." "Go." Kyle shoved Soren through, covering their retreat. The market burned behind them, Veil enforcers closing like wolves. Naira's absence gnawed at him. She wasn't with them, but she wasn't gone. The hatch slammed shut, plunging them into a tunnel's dim glow, its walls vibrating with Vinara's pulse. Tier 87 was a ghost town, its corridors lined with abandoned labs, their windows dark but humming faintly. Kale secured Soren in a derelict medbay, the scrubber's work holding, for now. Zin scanned the room, lights dim. "He's cleanish," the drone said, "but Nexus left scars. If it's in him, it's in others, thousands maybe." Kale leaned against a rusted console, blood seeping through his cloak. Dig into ascendancy, he said. Irin's roots, what's she chasing? Zin's processors hummed. Fragments, but ascendancy wasn't just a cult. They believed tech could transcend flesh. Minds as one, no boundaries. Irin's nexus? It's their dream weaponized. And Kale, there's a signal faint from Tier 100. Zenith Spire, it's her. Kale's mind raced. Zenith was Irin's fortress, untouchable, but the relay's damage had shaken her. Naira's move, sabotage or misdirection, meant cracks in the veil. He turned to Soren, who stared at the floor, hollow. You said it's in everyone, Kyle said. What did you mean? Soren's voice was barely a whisper. Their tech, it's not just implants. It's in the air, the water, the signal. Vaynara's wired to Nexus. You breathe, you're part of it. Kale's neural link pulsed, a faint static he hadn't noticed before. His augments, could they be tainted? He shook it off, focusing. Zin, find a way to Zenith. We're not done. The drone hesitated. Kyle, that's suicide, even for you. Then find a way that isn't, Kyle said, checking his blade. The medbay's hum grew louder, a shadow moving beyond the glass. Not nearer, something else. Its form, flickering like a corrupted hollow. Kyle tensed, rifle raised. As the rain outside roared, Vaynara's secrets pressing closer with every drop. Vaynara's rain keeps falling, washing away Kale's steps as he hunts the Veil's truth. But Soren's words, they're everywhere, hit hard, don't they? That spark of danger's got you hooked. Want more cities where blades meet. Secrets? There's another story out there, a sci-fi saga of drones and double crosses. It's waiting for you. Click it. See where the shadows lead next.